This is a special edition of It Simply Isn't Done because we were snowed out on Sunday.
Snowed out.
Yeah, really kind of wind drifted out, maybe.
And cold.
Yes.
Cold.
Yeah, so we thought we'd take this opportunity to talk a little bit about the season the church is in with some transitions that are coming up, especially in light of where the Michigan annual conference of United Methodist is. We're in appointment season. So we thought we'd talk a little bit about what that process is like and what it might be here.
All right. It's also Epiphany, which is the season of light. So we're enlightening all of your questions about appointment making in the United Methodist Church, a.k.a. how do we get our pastors?
How do we get our pastors? And how do we get rid of them?
Yeah, how do we get our pastors to leave? And how do we get new pastors to come?
So there's not really, there's not really a scripture to go along with this. So I think we're just going to jump into it. Yes?
Yeah, it's not exactly like Jesus walking along the shores and seeing the fishermen and saying, "Come follow me."
It is not.
I mean, it may have started that way for some of our pastors who felt a deep sense of call, but once you connect to the United Methodist Church, it's a little bit more detailed than that.
It sure is. A lot more logistics. So here at Chapel Hill, this will likely not be news to whoever's listening. We've been in a season of intentional transition. We've actually talked about it on the podcast before, but it's really been the plan for kind of years. Certainly on the church bringing a co-pastor in. So we've been preparing for this time when Barry would receive a new appointment or do something new.
Do something new.
And we would receive another co-pastor.
Yeah.
And in some traditions, there is a call system, which is kind of like you have like a bank of potential candidates, and then you interview them, and the church decides. Our system's a little bit different. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, Barry?
Yeah, our system is an appointive system, and we have bishops in the United Methodist Church, so it's an Episcopal system where there is a pastor who is an elder in the United Methodist Church, just as I am an elder in the United Methodist Church, just as Jess is an elder in the United Methodist Church. But some bishops are elders set apart to do this particular work of appointment making, that is, taking clergy from within the annual conference, which is a geographical region. For us, it's the state of Michigan, and the bishop with the district superintendents, who are the bishop's assignees to different districts or smaller regional areas, and together they work on connecting the needs of the communities and local church with the resources of the pastors, and they do their best to make sure that the gifts and graces of the pastors meet the needs of the communities and congregations. So it is an appointive system, but it's also a consultative system. So the bishops and the district superintendents are in conversation with the existing pastors to understand more deeply the gifts that those pastors understand that they bring, but also with the staff parish relations committee of a local church that is supposed to be keeping track of, what the ongoing needs of a local church are, so that when there is a need for a pastoral change, or when the bishop says we need your pastor somewhere else right now, and so we're gonna initiate a change, so that everybody's got all the information they need. A little secret is that often churches like to blame the bishop for moves, for taking a much beloved pastor and moving them somewhere else. 80% of moves are initiated by pastors. Mm-hmm. So with that, we entered into this season quite a while ago, because I've been at this church for a long time, And we knew that it would be smart to have a well thought out plan for transition, and so we started working on a co-pastor plan. We being the guidance board and the staff parish relations committee way back when, and then pre-COVID, and we worked with our district superintendent. And Jess came first half-time from Wesley Foundation, so we shared Jess with the Wesley Foundation as she was director there, and then full-time here in the middle of COVID. So we've had to say that we've had an interesting time is to say little. So now we're at the point where we're doing transitions. So why don't you take it from there, Jess?
Yeah. The other thing I would add is that there's all these kind of unique words and there's this kind of unique language. But in addition to ours being an appointive system, it's an itinerant system, meaning your pastors typically they itinerate, right? They move around. They don't stay kind of in one place. So that's for a whole host of reasons, and a lot of them are really beautiful. It means that a pastor can give their gifts and graces for a particular season of the church life, and then move on and offer those same gifts and graces to a space where they might need that as well. So, as pastors, we're not members of Chapel Hill, right? We're members of the conference and kind of have our own church. So, right now is kind of where we're in the final stretches of what this transition will look like, and it's kind of when the appointments are being made. So usually in January, the cabinet meets and they start doing this work. They start taking stock of the churches. They start consulting with DSs and pastors who have requested changes, who are retiring, and they kind of put them all together and they look and they look at the needs and are in communication. So here at Chapel Hill, we are for West Michigan, we're a hearty mid-sized church, and we're kind of we'll be looked at sooner rather than later, and as will Barry as a valued leader of the conference, and so we will be probably receiving news very shortly of what this looks like, where the cabinet will consult with a church and with Barry and say, hey, might this be a good fit? And then we'll consult with the SBRC here at Chapel Hill and say, hey, we have this person that we think might be a good fit. And usually the first step is an openness, asking some questions of those district superintendents, but an openness to exploring more and to sitting in what we call an introductory meeting, where a pastor will meet with the SBRC, get a little more information, and then there is some time of mutuality after that meeting to say, hey, yeah, I'd like to proceed here on both sides, the SBRC and the individual pastor. Graciously, thankfully, we're in a conference where our bishop cares a lot about that people saying yes, right? The bishop does not technically have to care as much as ours does. We really do serve at the pleasure of the bishop, but it seems most folks have the experience of this bishop really wanting it to be a very good fit for churches.
Yeah, I think I would add that the itinerant system that you spoke of, was really,
it's historical.
It is historical, and hysterical. It really evolved out of a place where clergy were exclusively men, and if not the sole breadwinner, was single themselves.
Yeah, we used to say a lot, single dudes on horses. That's what this was really designed for.
So it was much easier to move the pieces around the table, and a big part of being itinerant is that there was a high expectation that pastors would preach in community and be prophetic in community, which meant to speak political truths into community, and knowing full well that they may drive you out of town. So the itinerancy meant that you were free to speak what you understood God was calling you to speak, knowing that there would be another town that the bishop would assign you to, knowing that you would not be without a church. Fast forward, and people got married and entered into love relationships, and the economy's changed, and most of the households became two career families, not just for financial reasons, but for call reasons. There are calls to careers, whether they are within the church or not. And it became more difficult for bishops to just say, "You serve at my pleasure, go."
Yeah.
So we call it being tethered. So there's a reason that you need to stay close. It may be aging family members, and I need to be close by, whatever the reason. And that's a lot for the bishop and the cabinet to keep in mind as appointments are being made, but they do, and all prayerfully considered. So I think that's a big piece of what enters into the picture now. There was something else I was going to say and then lost it. Oh well.
I bet it'll come back.
Maybe.
Who can say?
Who can say?
Yeah, so our system can be cumbersome, right? This system, there are pros and cons, like with any. And right now we're just kind of in the thick of it, where there's a lot of hurry up and wait, where you get some bits of information, but all the pieces aren't together. And we know this is coming, and have trust and faith in what the best we can in what it'll look like. And the cabinet seeing fit for Barry to go to a place where he can continue to flourish and thrive in ministry, and we can receive a pastor, and Chapel Hill can continue to do the same. It is, I can say from my vantage point, a huge gift to be able to celebrate someone so well on their way out, especially when the church is doing new and exciting things. There are some situations where it's not as easy to say that, where a pastor needs to leave because it's not a good fit, or something else happens, and that's not this instance. It is very rare for a Methodist pastor to be able to consistently use their gifts and graces and ministry in one place for over 20 years. And that has been a huge gift you have given to Chapel Hill, and it will be a huge gift for your next congregation as long as you serve there. So it's nice to be able to talk about this and not have kind of the, whatever else happens sometimes in these sorts of transitions.
Yeah. One of the, because really we just need to confuse the point more. One of the things that people need to realize as well is that if there is a challenge we've had in the appointment making system that we live under, is that we have that system alongside with kind of an economic standard that we adopt as Americans, and so there's become this longer you're in ministry, the more you ought to be paid kind of thing. Your compensation ought to be higher, and that makes it a little weird, because then we start measuring the appointments not so much based on what God needs in that location, but what a pastor needs to or deserves to be paid based on his or her length of time in ministry and so forth. It gets complicated, and a lot of math. A lot of math, and we start messing with values, and we come to that place where we again rub up against the allegiances between, the kind of American standards of economic value and the values that God places on us as humans who are gifted with what is needed to do ministry.
That is hard and complicated, and systems are fallible for all sorts of reasons. If you get into the weeds with myself or Barry, we're pretty big proponents of figuring out universalized salary for clergy for that very reason, so that it takes a lot of the ickiness out of the potential equation. Yeah, because it's hard. And your SBRC, Chapel Hill, has said very clearly, we want whoever has the best gifts and skills to come alongside the church with what the church needs, to come alongside our co-pastor. We don't want whoever is just the next rung up on the ladder that needs to be paid, quote unquote, needs to be paid as much as Barry. And I'm really grateful to serve in a place that consistently has been really forward thinking about what the needs of the church are. Because that's, y'all are, you are rare. We have a reputation here at Chapel Hill of being unique little flowers. And I love it because it means we get to do cool and unique things, like have two pastors who are co-pastors who aren't married, the only church in Michigan, to my knowledge, and I'm pretty sure this is accurate, the only church in our jurisdiction that's doing that. I know of some churches that are in our denomination that are doing it out in Portland, Oregon. But other than that, this is a pretty fun and unique model of ministry that you all saw fit to forge away. And we're going to keep doing that. And it's going to be fun.
Yeah, hopefully, I think it's easy for folks that have leadership responsibilities to look at new things as bothersome because it changes the way they have to operate. I hope that's not the case. I hope that Chapel Hill and Jess and I have been very open with the cabinet in offering this as a model that may help us do the ministry we need to do in community in a more faithful way. I don't know. Time will tell.
Time will tell. I mean, I think for this season of life in the church, this model here has been really successful. I mean, it's in context has been delightful.
That's because you and I are awesome. we cannot hold anyone else accountable.
Sure. I mean, and you all, this church had a lot to do in order to support that. We've talked about this before. Barry and I have a coach where, especially in the beginning, we had to figure a lot out and both be personalities willing to undertake this. And that's not true. You can't just plug and play any clergy person into the scenario and think it'll work. However, who knows what the future holds. But I'm really proud of the work we've been able to do in co-pastorate here at Chapel Hill.
Yeah, and most days we still like to work with each other.
I say all days.
Okay, all right.
You can
I will go there. I will go there all days.
Wow. Yeah. So we wanted to, give you all an update, let you know that news is coming. Some bits of it we have to hold pretty close, to the vest.
Something's coming.
Some of it we have, frankly, no information about at all and hope to hear from the cabinet soon. So you all will be in the loop, and we want to communicate. We want to communicate well with you, so we're prepared. We know how to celebrate this time coming up, and close a chapter and start a new chapter here at Chapel Hill.
We'll have goodbyes and hellos to say, and
cakes with faces.
Yeah. Yeah.
All sorts of good stuff.
Yep. And we look forward to it, and I'm sure we'll have more to say.
Well, that's always the case. Hey, next week we're going to pick, frankly, right back up where we left off. We have a whole service that was ready to go with some excellent music, some excellent stories. We're starting the PCH playlist. If you haven't already, there is an actual literal playlist. You can go ahead and download on Spotify or Apple Music, and I would commend that to you. It's from folks in the congregation that gave their songs, and we will pick up with that on the 21st.